Sandbox MMA fans, as many of you know, UFC 305 will headline Dricus Du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya for the UFC middleweight title in Perth, Australia, but not many other fights have been announced, and I just made a card builder that I want to go through with all of you. Let me know what you think on the card. I really want to stack this because last year we had Strickland Adesanya as the main event, which again is a great fight because there's a lot of hype leading up to it. But then we had a lackluster co-main in Volk versus Tuivasa, which isn't a co-main event worthy fight to me, especially on a pay-per-view. Then you have Manel Kape, which was supposed to be against Kai Kara-France, but instead we got Felipe Dos Santos stepping in on short notice. You had Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane, and you had Tyson Pedro versus Anton Turkalj. That's a miserable. Those last three fights just should not be on the main card. Again, Manel Kape versus Kai Kara-France would have helped make the card much better. Justin Tafa shouldn't be on a main event, guys. He's a low-level heavyweight fighter, the lowest-level heavyweight fighter. Same thing with Tyson Pedro, but he's retired now. So we're going to break down who I want in this main event, or who I want on the main card, who I want on the prelims, early prelims. So I have made a card that I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think in the comments. So we're going right to it. I'm going to start with the early prelims. We're going to start off with some BS here. We got Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. Tom Nolan is fighting Alex Reyes. That fight's already booked. I wouldn't have necessarily made that, but again, I think that should be an early prelim opener. It's a low-level lightweight fight, but we'll just see how it happens. Tom Nolan's from Australia. Make it work. Then you got Junior Tafa. Not Justin Tafa, Junior Tafa on the early prelims. Give him a win. You want the Australian crowd to go crazy, and he is one of the lowest level heavyweight fighters. Got his leg destroyed by Marcos Rogerio de Lima and showed that he had nothing for him in that fight, even though he took it on a couple days' notice. I get it, but Junior Tafa is terrible. We're going to go with Josh Parisium. Give him another terrible fighter. Get him a win. Get the Australian crowd going. We're going to skip right to the fights that I'm a little bit more interested in here. Jack Jenkins had a horrible injury against Chet Mariscal in his last fight, but he's going to be ready to return soon. I want him to fight and get a win in the featherweight division. A guy that's coming off a win that would be an easy win for Jack Jenkins, especially coming back for an injury. Weston Wilson. We're going to see Weston Wilson on a pay-per-view, and he's going to be on the early prelims against Jack Jenkins. This will set up Jack Jenkins for a good win. Hopefully a first-round finish is what we would expect here. And then that starts to get him back in his mojo. We want Jack Jenkins winning. We want him starting to rocket up that division. Get him a quick, easy win over a guy that just got a win over Jeka Sergey last week. Make it happen. You're not going to have many people in the featherweight division that want to go fight in Australia. But speaking of the featherweight division, Chet Mariscal did it last time, he'll do it this time. And he's going to get a fight up in rankings against Josh Culibao. Josh Culibao lost an insanely close fight to Danny Silva. He's got to fight a little bit down in the rankings, but Chet Mariscal is a good matchup for him where it's, again, a kind of a name value guy. It's a winnable fight, and it's going to be fun. It's guaranteed to be a scrap. These guys like to go at it. We saw Chet Mariscal got fight of the month somehow last year against his last fight against Morgan Charrier. Josh Culibao is always in bangers. Love to see him fight, especially in Australia. If these are the early prelims, we're in for a sick card. And now we're going to get into the prelims. Starting with Brad Riddell, makes his return fight. It's going to be hard to get Brad Riddell to come back and just fight anybody. I think if you give him a name that can give him a little bit of more star power, it's going to be a good way to do it, and we all know who this is. Michael Johnson, man. Michael Johnson, Brad Riddell opening up the regular prelims, I think would be awesome. Good fight. Two guys that can wrestle, but would prefer to strike. I think it would be a good good lightweight fight for these guys to start looking up in the rankings. Again, not to the top 15, but to the top 25. It would be very interesting to see. Also on this card, I would go with the next fight to be, it's Casey O'Neill versus Teresa Bleda. I would put them on the prelims because we don't want to see them in the main card. We didn't see them in the main card last time when it was Jennifer Maia, Casey O'Neill. But Casey O'Neill's a hottie. Teresa Bleda is a beatable opponent for her, and that's why the UFC has already made that fight. So there's no spoiler there. That one's already been made. Working up the card in the heavyweight division, we have Justin Tafa versus Rebelis Despain. Neither of these two guys can grapple. Neither of them want to grapple. They both have insane power in their hands. I'd be interested to see how it goes. Someone's getting knocked out in the first round in this fight. Let's see how it goes. Justin Tafa versus Rebelis Despain, and if Tafa wins, it's in his home crowd. He gets rocketed up, and everyone goes crazy for him, more star power. If Rebelis Despain wins, guess what? He beat a dude in his home turf that has extremely heavy hands. You can start looking at more favorable matchups for him going forward. Co-main eventing the prelims. Izzy Dos Santos just lost to Randy Brown, but did not take much damage at all outside of one knee. And Jake Matthews on the same card at UFC 302 just beat Phil Rowe. These are two guys close ranked in the welterweight division, two good fighters. This is, I would say, the winner of this fight can start taking a look up at that just outside the top 15 or the number 15 ranked guy. Jake Matthews, excellent fighter. Sometimes you don't know what you get with him, but recently he's been stringing together some really good wins, really good performances, and put him against Izzy Dos Santos, who is always a tough out, especially with his capoeira style. This fight is a guaranteed banger. Would love to see it happen. Jake Matthews, Izzy Dos Santos as a co-main on the prelims. And then main eventing the prelims, right? It's a prelim headliner is what you call it. So that would have been the prelim co-headliner. Tai Tuivasa needs a win. I was looking at the heavyweight rankings. There are guys that are going to try and take him down, and I want someone that will stand on the feet with him. Waldo Cortez Acosta did wet blanket Rebellis Despain. But Rebellis Despain has worse takedown defense than Tai Tuivasa. He hasn't trained a day of grappling or takedown defense in his life. Tai has. He's an MMA fighter, and I reckon Tai's going to get this one done. We want to give Tai a win here. So give him a fight outside the rankings. Again, he's ranked, but let him get his confidence back. Spark Waldo Cortez Acosta, because we all want to see him get put out after what he did to Arlovsky and putting us to sleep against Rebellis Despain. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Tai Tuivasa can be a fun fight, and I bet it ends in a sick knockout for Tai. That's what we want to see. Prelim headliner. I don't want Waldo on a main event or main card. Then we get Dan Hooker versus Renato Moicano to open up the main card. This would be absolutely insane. Moicano can yap, but he can fight. I love listening to Moicano's post-fight speeches. He might not get one. I don't know what would happen in this fight yet. I don't know who I would pick. Dan Hooker is a game, tough opponent, really tough to get out of there unless you're Islam Makhachev. But dude, Dan Hooker's a monster. You're in Australia. He's from New Zealand. I want to watch him fight on that card. And then you get Renato Moicano, who's been calling out Dan Hooker for so long. This is a ranked lightweight fight. The winner gets a shot at the top 5. I was going to put Rafa Fiziev in here. I don't hate that matchup, but I would like to see Dan Hooker. Again, he's coming off a brutal injury. That would be a sick fight, but I think Dan Hooker versus Rafael Fiziev should be a 5-rounder, in my opinion. But you could do Rafa Fiziev there. Dan Hooker versus Renato Moicano is my bet because I think it would drum up more attention, especially with how Moicano can drum up attention for a fight. Make it happen, opening up the main card. Then you got a flyweight fight between two stud Australians, Steve Erceg and Kai Kara France. There's nothing left to say. You look at Steve Erceg, he can fight anyone, but he needs to take a shot up in the rankings because of how close his fight was against Alessandro Pantoja. Kai Kara France took a year out, and he beat Amir Albazi, but he took a year off. A win against Erceg puts him back into title contention, or at least an elimination bout. Kai Kara France, Steve Erceg, no matter who wins, Australia gets a winner. You have an Australian at the top of flyweight. This would be a sick fight. Absolute guaranteed banger. No idea who I'd pick to win. Probably Steve Erceg, just given his activity recently. But next up is the feature fight. I'm going to go with JDM versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. We all know this is the fight that needs to be made. Now, I want this to be 5 rounds. I don't think the UFC would put 2 non-title fights as 5-round events or 5-round fights. I don't know that this makes it to 5-round, but I'd love to see this be 5 rounds. It probably won't be, so if you do JDM versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, the fans will be absolutely jazzed up. Great fight to make. Winner gets a title fight. This is the fight to make at welterweight, guys. You got 2 top 5 ranked guys, again, who haven't fought in... they're coming off wins against top 5 guys, and, or you got Wonder Boy, who's just outside the top 5, but Shavkat's beaten literally everybody handily by finish. You got Jack Della Maddalena, who just stopped Gilbert Burns, who was in the top 5. Again, Brady needs to beat a guy to get up there. You got Bilal versus Leon happening right now. Colby doesn't deserve shit. Kamaru just hasn't shown that he wants to fight yet. I'd love to see him fight again soon, but he's got to take a fight. I don't know that he would. I just think JDM called out Shavkat. We all want to see this fight. Make it happen. I don't know why I'm just explaining it too much. It's simple as that. We all know we want this fight. Make it happen. Co-main event, 5 rounds. I think it's going to be Max versus Ilya. Volk does deserve a title rematch, but let's be real as fans. I don't want to see him fight somebody with crazy power in their hands. I want to see him fight somebody that's a little pillow-fested, that he's just more skilled in, and I think Movsar Evloev is that guy. I don't think Movsar Evloev has the crazy power in his hands where he can put Volkanovski out, and I don't have to watch a third knockout in a row and cry to myself to sleep. He's going to try and grapple Volk, but I'd love to see how Volk's grappling holds up against someone like Movsar. Would be really interesting. I think he would hold up well, and I think this is a fight that helps get Volk's confidence back. He beats a contender, or if not, Movsar wins, and he's next in line for the title. We have a clear contender next for the title. Make it happen. Movsar Evloev, Alexander Volkanovski, 5-round co-main. Volk should have a title rematch, but none of us want to see it because it's been scary watching him get chin, man. I just don't want to see him become the next Tony Ferguson, and I don't think he will. I think he's far more skilled than Tony ever was. But it's just scary to see, brother. It is. Volk, Movsar, it's a little bit less of a dangerous fight for him in terms of getting knocked out. And then you have as the main event, it's obviously Israel Adesanya versus Dricus Du Plessis. If you want to see an absolutely insane UFC card, hold up. Hey, hold on. There we go. If you want to see an absolutely insane event in Perth, which we all deserve after the shit one they put on last time for Australia specifically, which they did in Sydney, this is the way you do it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I kept this video short because we already know what some of these fights are, but I want to know what you guys think. Who else would you rather have on the card? If you enjoyed the content, like and subscribe, and thank you again for watching.